Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something, well, it causes a lot of stress for pretty much everyone. How do you actually know when you finally have enough?
Ah, yes. The big one. It's sort of this mythical beast, isn't it?
Totally.
That huge, scary number. Maybe it comes from financial gurus or the news, or maybe it's just, your brother-in-law Dave telling you what you need. We call it the number.
And we all chase it, don't we? Convinced that hitting this massive target is like the key to unlocking peace and happiness.
Right.
But looking at the sources we pulled for this deep dive, you see these extremes, like Elon Musk's potential $1 trillion package.
Yes, staggering.
Or Mark Zuckerberg apparently needing 2 super yachts for one trip to Norway. One wasn't enough, it seems.
And when you see that kind of thing, that level of just excess, you really have to pause and ask.
Is someone with 300 times my wealth actually 300 times happier?
Exactly. Or does chasing that ever higher number, that monetary status, does it actually get in the way of, a well-lived life?
That's really the core question we're unpacking today, isn't it? We want to show you why chasing a purely monetary target is often, well, fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, our mission today is to sort of guide you through flipping that whole way of thinking on its head.
Okay.
Instead of starting with the spreadsheets and the calculators, we're going to explore how you can design a retirement, or just a life, really, that's not just more fulfilling, but maybe much easier and faster to get to than you think.
All right, I'm in. And hey, if you find this useful as we go, definitely hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe let us know what other topics you'd like us to dive into in the comments.
Good idea.
We also sometimes partner with services that tie into these discussions, so keep an eye out for relevant links too.
Huh.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So we're just constantly surrounded by this message, aren't we? Climb the ladder, get the bigger salary, the better title, the fancier car, more stuff. It's almost like that monologue from Trainspotting,
Yeah.
Choose life, choose a job, choose a big television.
It's deeply ingrained. This pursuit of more, often linked directly to status.
And this isn't new, it's just maybe amplified now. I always think of that scene in Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah.
Where Skylar's looking at that literal mountain of cash Walter's made, and she just asks him, how much is enough? And the pile is so huge, the question itself seems kind of absurd.
It does. And, if we go way back like thousands of years, the ancient Greeks actually had some thoughts on this.
Aristotle.
Exactly. Aristotle talked about eudaimonia.
Yeah.
It's often translated as human flourishing.
Okay.
And he argued that a truly good life, it comes from cultivating your character, your mind. And crucially, keeping external goods like money and possessions within moderate limits.
Moderate limits? That sounds sensible.
Right. He basically said a life spent just grabbing more stuff than you could ever possibly use is, well, it's missing the point. It lacks the goods of the soul, as he put it.
But that feels so countercultural today, doesn't it? Everything's about image, Instagram comparisons.
Yeah.
How do you escape that materialistic chase?
Well, the research we looked at is pretty clear. Chasing wealth purely for status, for the image it projects, it consistently undermines well-being.
Right.
That whole keeping up with the Joneses thing, it's often driven by feeling insecure or constantly comparing yourself negatively to others.
And that leads somewhere. Right. There's a term for it.
Yes, it leads straight on to what researchers call the hedonic treadmill, or sometimes the consumer wheel of doom.
Hedonic treadmill. I've definitely felt that. I remember years ago, my income jumped significantly, and suddenly I was flying first class for like a 3-hour flight, something I'd never have considered before. It just became normal.
That is the treadmill in action, perfectly described. We spend what we earn, right?
Yeah.
And as the income goes up, those little luxuries, they just get absorbed into the baseline.
Yeah.
So that first class seat, that's the new normal. And now you need even more luxury just to get the same little happiness boost you got initially.
So the goal line for enough just keeps moving further away.
Constantly accelerating away. Because your spending rises to meet or even exceed your income.
Okay, let's pivot then. Let's talk about the core problem with how most people approach financial planning, especially for retirement.
Right. The traditional way.
We usually start with the math, don't we? I admit, I used to have this fantasy. If I quit my corporate job, I figured I'd need some huge sum, let's say, I don't know, $8 million or something.
Wow. Okay.
Just to keep living the way I was living then, that consumption-heavy lifestyle forever. The goal became the number itself.
And that's precisely the danger. Traditional planning asks, how much money do I need? And then your whole life becomes about hitting that target, which is often pretty arbitrary.
Yeah.
But the sources we reviewed really highlight this thing called the psychological gap. You can hit your huge number, your million, your 8 million, but hitting it doesn't automatically switch on the well-being light. It just doesn't work that way.
So money is good for some things.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh.
For solving money-related problems, paying off your mortgage, fixing the car when it breaks down, handling unexpected bills. It buys security and options in that sense.
Absolutely. But what can't it fix?
Well, it's a terrible tool for fixing non-money problems.
Like loneliness or boredom.
Exactly. Or lack of purpose if you retire with millions but you're lonely or bored stiff or feel adrift. Well, your net worth statement isn't going to make you feel any better, is it?
No, it really isn't. And isn't there also a kind of practical problem? Like if you spend 30, 40 years drilling into your brain, save, hoard, delay, gratification, how easy is it to just suddenly flip a switch and start spending comfortably in retirement? Doesn't that ingrained habit, maybe even fear, stick around?
Oh, absolutely. We call it the Scrooge McDuck effect. People spend decades learning to accumulate to protect the pile of gold. Then they retire from their jobs, but they haven't figured out what they're retiring to. They get so anxious about touching the principal, about seeing the balance go down even slightly, that they can't actually use the money to enjoy the freedom they supposedly worked for. They've got all this fuel, like you said, but they've forgotten how to fly the plane, or maybe they're too scared to take off.
Okay, so if hitting the number, having that massive bank account doesn't guarantee happiness, and we've pretty much established it doesn't, then we need a different target.
Exactly. We need to redefine the goal.
And the goal isn't a number on a spreadsheet. It's more like a state of being.
Precisely. It's what we call financial well-being. And this is a key distinction in methodology.
How so?
Traditional planning often measures success by AUM, assets under management, or your net worth. Financial life planning, which is what we're exploring, measures success by fulfillment and preparedness. How ready and able are you to live the life you want?
Okay, so financial well-being isn't just about the balance. What is it about then?
Research breaks it down into 4 key feelings, or capabilities, really. These contribute to this internal sense of financial peace, kind of regardless of your absolute net worth.
All right, let's hear them, the 4 pillars.
Okay, number 1 is control. Just feeling like you're in the driver's seat with your day-to-day money.
Paying bills without stress.
Yeah, paying bills on time, knowing where your money's going. It's a feeling of calm competence, not financial chaos.
Got it. Number 2?
Second is security. This is about your capacity to handle a financial shock.
Like a big unexpected bill.
Exactly, and an unexpected medical expense, the car needing a major repair. Can you absorb that without it completely derailing your life? It's knowing you have that safety net, that buffer.
Okay, makes sense.
Third is progress. This is the feeling that you're actually moving forward, that you're on track to meet important goals.
So like saving for something specific feels better than just saving vaguely.
Absolutely. Having that sense of momentum towards a future you desire is really motivating and satisfying.
And the last one?
And finally, number 4 is flexibility. This is having the financial freedom to make choices that allow you to enjoy life.
What kind of choices?
Oh, it could be saying yes to a spontaneous weekend trip, or maybe cutting back work hours to pursue a hobby you love, or taking a sabbatical. It's having options. That flexibility is incredibly valuable for well-being.
So control, security, progress, flexibility, that feels much more human than just a dollar figure.
It is. And this is the foundation of financial life planning. It completely flips the traditional model on its head.
How does it flip it?
It starts not with, how much money do I need to scrape together so I can stop working?
Right, the usual starting point.
Instead, it starts with a much deeper, more fundamental question. What kind of life do I actually genuinely want to live?
Ah, okay, so you design the life first.
You design the life first, you build the rocket your desired life, and then you figure out exactly how much fuel the money you need to power that specific journey. Not just build the biggest fuel tank possible and hope it takes you somewhere nice.
That makes so much sense. Build the rocket before collecting the fuel. So how do you figure out what rocket you want to build? How do you answer that big question about the life you want?
Well, the best tool for that, arguably, comes from George Kinder. He's really considered the pioneer of this whole field.
Okay.
And he developed these 3 really powerful questions. They're designed to act almost like a pre-mortem on your life.
A pre-mortem. To spot regrets before they happen.
Exactly. To identify what truly matters to you now, while you still have time to do something about it.
Okay, I'm ready. What's the first question?
Question number 1 is the freedom question. Imagine you are completely, totally, permanently financially secure. You have more money than you'll ever need.
Okay, nice fantasy.
Right. Now, what would you do? How would you live your life? What changes? If money is absolutely no object, what do you do purely out of passion or interest? Alan Watts had a similar idea, asking, what would you like to do if money were no object?
That's a big one. Okay, what's question 2?
Question 2 is the limited time question. Now imagine your doctor tells you you've got 5 to 10 years left to live. The good news is you'll remain perfectly healthy during that time.
Okay.
But you know the clock is ticking. What becomes truly essential? What do you immediately stop doing? What falls away because it no longer serves your deepest values?
Yeah.
This question brings in urgency.
Wow. Yeah, that definitely focuses the mind. Okay, the third one.
And the third one, it's often the most profound. It's the mortality question. Imagine now you only have 24 hours left.
Oh, wow.
As you reflect back on your whole life, what did you miss out on? Who did you not get to be? What important things were left undone? What regrets surface about relationships, experiences, or contributions? This cuts right to the bone to your deepest values.
Freedom, limited time, mortality. Those are powerful questions. They really make you stop and think.
They do.
Actually, answering those made me really reconsider my own path. When I first left university, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, running a small media company. We were totally broke, living on about 40 pounds a week and 1-pound bowls of chips from the pub. But it felt like an adventure, you know?
I could think.
Then I took what was meant to be a 3-month temp job as a media lawyer, and somehow that turned into 25 years of climbing the corporate ladder. Those questions kind of forced me to look at the adventurous, maybe slightly reckless person I traded in for the financially secure lawyer I became.
And that kind of honest reflection is exactly the point. It reveals what truly matters underneath the surface noise. And here's the crucial link back to the money.
Okay.
The answers people give to those 3 questions, they rarely involve buying a third yacht or another vacation home.
Right. I imagine not.
They almost always focus on activities that are relatively low cost, but incredibly high in fulfillment.
Like what?
Things like spending more quality time with family and friends, pursuing a creative passion like painting or writing, volunteering for a cause you believe in, learning a new language or skill, spending time in nature.
Things that don't necessarily require millions in the bank.
Exactly. Which means the actual amount of money you need per year to fund that deeply meaningful, fulfilling life you just designed. It's often dramatically smaller than the amount needed to sustain that constantly escalating, consumption-driven lifestyle we talked about earlier.
So designing the life first actually makes the financial target potentially smaller and easier to reach.
Exponentially smaller in many cases. Suddenly that feeling of financial freedom, of having enough, it doesn't seem like some impossible dream decades away. It becomes much more attainable much sooner, and often without the extreme life-sucking sacrifice you thought was required.
That makes a huge difference. I can see that in my own life now, actually. Like that trip to Japan I want to take. Years ago, as the lawyer, I could easily afford it, but it never felt like a priority compared to, I don't know, saving more for the number. Now, even though my income is different in retirement, that trip has moved way up the priority list. The why behind it is so much clearer.
And when the why is clear, making the financial adjustments feels different.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like deprivation anymore. Saving for that trip feels like a conscious, intentional investment in the future life I actually want to live, not just socking money away because some guru said so.
That is the entire takeaway right there. Stop obsessing about the abstract number on your brokerage statement. The real core question is, what is the life I truly want to live, and how can I best use my money as a tool to help me build that specific life?
The money serves the life, not the other way around.
Precisely.
And just to hammer this point home about how maybe our obsession with huge wealth is misplaced, there was a pretty well-known U.S. study back in 2010, I think.
Oh, the Kahneman and Deaton one.
That's the one. It suggested that basically emotional well-being, day-to-day happiness, it tends to max out at an annual income of around $75,000.
Right. And adjusted for inflation to, say, 2020 figures, that's maybe around $111,000 a year now.
Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark. Not millions and millions or billions. The point was, once your fundamental needs are comfortably met and you have that buffer against stress,
getting more money doesn't seem to buy you proportionally more happiness. The curve flattens out dramatically.
Which, again, suggests that beyond a certain point of security and comfort, it's not about more money.
It's about what you do with your time, your energy, who you spend it with. Once money worries are off the table, those become the real drivers of a fulfilling life.
So this whole process, thinking through these questions, designing your life, It's not like a one-and-done financial plan, is it?
No, not at all. Think of it as a living document. A compass, maybe.
A compass, I like that. Something to guide your ongoing decisions, big and small.
Exactly.
Well, we really hope this deep dive was useful for you and maybe got you thinking. Perhaps start considering what your own new to-do list might look like after reflecting on those three powerful questions.
It really is a fundamental shift in perspective if you let it be.
It truly is. If you want more in-depth explorations of topics just like this one, please do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and definitely tell us what we should dive into next in the comments below.
We'd love to hear your ideas.
And remember, we sometimes partner with relevant services, so check the description for any links that might be helpful. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for our next deep dive.